The inheritance papers felt heavier than they should. Owen Riley turned them over in his hands while the transport shuttle bucked through another pocket of turbulence. Outside the tiny window, Whitestone Ridge looked like someone had dropped a handful of buildings onto an endless sheet of white paper and forgotten about them. His Uncle Bernard had been dead for 3 months before anyone bothered to track Owen down. The lawyer's message had been brief. Bernard left you something. You need to come claim it in person. Now Owen was here, watching his breath fog in the poorly heated cabin while the pilot muttered about the weather getting worse. The hangar sat 300 kilometers from the main colony. The shuttle dropped him at the edge of the property and left before Owen could change his mind. Wind immediately tried to knock him down. Snow stung his face like tiny needles. He pulled his coat tighter and stared at what his uncle had left him. The building sagged under the weight of 2 decades worth of ice. One corner had collapsed completely. The main doors hung crooked on broken hinges. Every window was either shattered or buried. Owen had seen prettier garbage dumps. He forced his way inside through a gap in the doors. The interior was dark and smelled like rust and old machine oil. Ice covered everything in thick sheets. Equipment lay scattered across the floor like bones in a graveyard. Owen's hope, already small, shrank to almost nothing that a sound made him turn. Something moved in the shadows at the back of the hangar. Something big. Owen's hand went to the plasma cutter on his belt. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. He backed toward the door. The thing in the shadows moved again, and this time he heard breathing, deep and slow. Then she stepped into the thin light coming through the broken roof. A dragon, scales the color of fresh snow, with eyes like chips of blue ice. She was small for her kind, barely larger than a cargo hauler, but still big enough to swallow Owen whole if she wanted. They stared at each other. Owen's heart hammered against his ribs. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But the dragon just sat down and tilted her head like a curious dog. A tablet lay on a nearby workbench, somehow still working after all these years. Owen picked it up with shaking hands. The screen flickered to life, showing his uncle's face. The message was dated 2 days before Bernard died. If you're watching this, you came. Good. That's Glacier. Raised her from an egg after her mother died in a mining accident. She's bonded to this place now. Can't leave, won't leave. Everyone said she was too small, too weak, not worth keeping. Sound familiar? Owen winced. His uncle always knew how to twist a knife. The hangar looks like junk. It is junk. But the real value isn't in the hangar, Owen. It's what's underneath. Glacier knows. She's been trying to show me for years, but I ran out of time. Maybe you'll be smarter than your old uncle. The message ended. Owen looked at the dragon. Glacier looked back at him with those unsettling blue eyes. So what am I supposed to do with you? Owen asked. His voice echoed in the empty building. Glacier stood and walked to the far corner of the hangar. Her claws clicked on the metal floor. She stopped at a specific spot and began scratching. Not random scratching. Deliberate. Focused. The sound set Owen's teeth on edge. He spent the rest of the day exploring the hangar. Most of the equipment was beyond repair. The heating system didn't work. The water recycler was frozen solid. The communications array had been stripped for parts years ago. He found a small room on the second floor that might work as living quarters if he could get some heat going. Night came fast this far north. The temperature dropped until Owen could barely feel his fingers. He got a portable heater running in the small room and sealed the door as best he could. Glacier settled outside in the main hangar. Through the thin walls, Owen could hear her scratching. Always the same spot. Over and over, he pulled up the property records on his tablet. The land had been surveyed 40 years ago when the colony first started. Nothing valuable found. Bedrock and permafrost all the way down. The hangar had been built as a repair station for mining equipment, but the companies moved their operations south where the weather was less hostile. Bernard bought the property cheap 15 years ago and never explained why. Owen wrapped himself in every blanket he could find and tried to sleep. The scratching continued below. Methodical, patient, purposeful. That he dreamed of his uncle's face on the tablet screen. The real value isn't in the hangar. What did that mean? What could be valuable on a frozen rock at the edge of nowhere? When Owen woke, ice had formed on the inside of the windows. His breath came out in thick clouds. Every muscle ached from the cold. He forced himself up and went downstairs. Glacier had scratched grooves into the floor. Deep grooves, the kind that shouldn't be possible in reinforced metal plating. She looked up when Owen approached, and for just a moment, he could have sworn she looked satisfied. Owen knelt and ran his hand over the gouges. The metal felt warm. Not hot, just warmer than it should be. He pulled out a handheld scanner and pointed it at the floor. The readings made him check the scanner twice. Something was down there. Something that was giving off a faint thermal signature through 6 inches of reinforced plating, and who knew how much rock and ice below that. Glacier made a sound in her throat. Not quite a growl, not quite a purr. She scratched the floor again, and the sound echoed through the empty hangar like a promise. Owen spent his second day making the hangar barely livable. He patched holes in the walls with salvaged metal sheets. He got 2 more heaters working. He cleared enough ice from one section of floor to set up a proper work area. The whole time, Glacier watched him with those unervingly intelligent eyes. The dragon had stopped scratching for now, but she stayed close to that same spot on the floor, guarding it, protecting it. Owen couldn't shake the feeling that she knew exactly what she was doing that BY evening. He had enough systems running to access Bernard's personal files. His uncle had been meticulous about record keeping. Logged going back 15 years. Most of it was boring. Equipment maintenance, weather reports, supply orders. But then Owen found the maps. Bernard had been cross-referencing old colonial survey data with thermal imaging. He had marked specific points around the hangar in red. Notes filled the margins in his uncle's cramped handwriting. Anomalous readings. Possible geological activity. Need more data. The dates showed Bernard had been working on this for over a decade. Owen pulled up the most recent files. His uncle's notes became more urgent. More excited. She knows where it is. Glacier won't stop digging. Have to reinforce the floor before she breaks through. Running out of time. Need to file proper claim before anyone notices. The final entry was dated 3 days before Bernard died. Almost there. 20 more feet. Can see the glow through the cracks now. Tomorrow I file everything. Tomorrow changes everything. But there was no tomorrow for Bernard. Heart attack. Quick and final. And whatever he found, whatever Glacier had been trying to show him, stayed buried. That a proximity alarm jerked Owen out of his reading. Someone was approaching the hangar. He checked the external cameras, half expecting salvage crews or curious colonists. Instead, he saw a corporate transport touching down outside. 3 people climbed out, all wearing the dark gray uniforms of Titan Mining Consortium. The one in front was tall and moved with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. He walked straight to the hangar doors and hammered on them with his fist. Owen went down to meet them. Glacier followed, her claws clicking ominously on the metal floor. The visitors' eyes went wide when they saw her. Owen Riley, the tall one asked. He didn't offer to shake hands. I'm Daniel Cross. Titan Mining. We need to talk about your property. Not much to talk about, Owen said. It's mine. Legal inheritance. Of course, of course. Cross smiled without warmth. We're not disputing that. We're here to make you an offer. This hangar, the land, everything. We'll pay fair market value. You could be off this frozen rock by tomorrow. Not interested. The smile disappeared. Mr. Riley, be reasonable. This property is worthless. The building is falling apart. You have no power, no equipment, no resources. You're sitting on permafrost in the middle of nowhere. Take our offer. It's generous. How generous? Cross named a figure. It was insultingly low. The kind of offer you made when you expected the other person to be desperate or stupid. Owen almost laughed. No deal. Mr. Riley, you heard him. Owen stepped back and started to close the door. Glacier moved forward, placing herself between Owen and the visitors. She didn't growl or threaten. She just stood there, a wall of scales and muscle. The message was clear. Cross's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. We have legal claims to subsurface rights in this sector. Anything you find below ground belongs to Titan Mining. You're just wasting everyone's time. Then why are you here? The question hung in the cold air. Cross stared at Owen, and for a moment, something like respect flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by cold calculation. "We'll be back," Cross said. He and his people returned to their transport. The engines roared to life, and they disappeared into the darkening sky. Owen sealed the doors and leaned against them. His heart was racing. Glacier bumped his shoulder with her snout, and he absently scratched behind her ear ridge. She made that not quite purring sound again. "They know something," Owen said to the dragon. "Your friend Bernard found something, and somehow they know about it." He went back to the computer and started digging deeper. Bernard's files included security footage. Owen found dozens of clips showing unauthorized drones flying over the property. Corporate markings. Titan mining markings. They had been watching Bernard for months before he died. More searching turned up emails his uncle had never sent. Draft after draft of claim filings. Survey reports. Legal documents. Bernard had been preparing to register a major discovery with the Colonial Resource Authority. But he died before hitting send, and all his work stayed buried in these files. Owen checked the equipment logs. His uncle had reinforced the hangar floor 2 years ago. Not just reinforced. He had installed military-grade plating designed to withstand orbital bombardment. That kind of work cost a fortune. You didn't do it unless you were protecting something incredibly valuable. Glacier scratched the floor again. Just once, sharp and deliberate. Owen looked at the deep groove she had made. In the dim light, he could see something in the scratches. A faint shimmer, like light reflecting off water, except there was no water here. That he grabbed his scanner and ran a full spectrum analysis. The readings came back scrambled. Too much interference. But buried in the noise, Owen caught fragments of data that made his breath catch. Crystalline structures. Rare earth elements. Energy signatures that shouldn't exist naturally. His tablet buzzed. Message incoming. No sender ID. Owen opened it and found 3 words. "Stop digging. Leave now." He looked at Glacier. The dragon looked back at him with those blue eyes that seemed to see right through him. Then she turned and scratched the floor again, harder this time. The sound echoed through the hangar like a challenge. Owen made his decision. Owen brought every cutting tool he could find a Glacier spot on the floor. The dragon watched with what looked like approval as he set up the heavy plasma torch. If someone was threatening him to leave, that meant there was something worth staying for. The reinforced plating fought him for 3 hours. Sparks flew. The smell of burning metal filled the hangar. Sweat soaked through Owen's shirt despite the cold. Glacier stayed close, occasionally moving her head to indicate where he should cut next. It was eerie how precise she was. Finally, the last section of plating fell away with a crash that echoed through the empty building. Owen peered into the hole. Darkness stared back. He dropped a light stick through the opening that IT fell for a long time before hitting bottom. When it did, the light revealed something that made Owen's heart skip. Stone walls. Smooth and natural. A cave system. "Bernard, you clever old man." Owen whispered. He rigged a descent line and went down with Glacier following. Dragons could fly, but in tight spaces they prefer to climb. Her claws found purchase on the rock with ease. Owen's descent was less graceful, but he made it without breaking anything. The cave was bigger than he expected. The light stick showed a tunnel stretching in both directions. But it was the walls that stopped Owen cold. They glittered, not with ice, with something else entirely. He pulled out his scanner and ran a full analysis. The results came back 3 times before he believed them. Resonance crystals, growing naturally in the cave walls like frozen lightning. Owen had heard of resonance crystals. Everyone had. They were essential for faster-than-light communication. The quantum properties let signals travel across galaxies instantly. Every major communications hub in human space needed them. Every military ship, every colony. The demand was endless and the supply was always short. Finding them naturally was almost impossible. Most crystals were synthetic, grown in labs at enormous cost. Natural formations like this were worth more than entire planets, and Bernard had found the mother lode. Owen followed the tunnel deeper. The crystals grew thicker as he descended. Some formations were as long as his arm. They pulsed with a faint internal light, casting strange shadows on the walls. Glacier moved ahead of him, Completely at ease in the darkness, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber. Owen's light couldn't find the far wall. Crystals covered every surface, creating a forest of gleaming spikes that stretched up into darkness. The sight made him dizzy. The value here was beyond calculation. He found Bernard's equipment scattered around the chamber. Core samples, testing gear, a portable lab setup. His uncle had been working down here for years, mapping the deposit in secret. Notes covered everything, written in Bernard's precise hand. Owen picked up a datapad and scrolled through the files. Survey maps showed the crystal formation extended for kilometers in every direction. Bernard estimated over 10 million tons of pure resonance crystal, the largest natural deposit ever found outside the core system's Point 1 file, made Owen's blood run cold. It was titled Legal Claims and filled with corporate documents. Titan Mining held subsurface rights to this entire sector. They had bought them cheap 40 years ago when the colony was founded. On paper, they owned everything below ground, but Bernard had found a loophole. The original survey marked this area as solid bedrock with no mineral value. Under colonial law, if a survey was wrong, the property owner had rights to correct it and claim discovered resources. Bernard just needed to file the paperwork before Titan Mining found out what he had discovered. He never got the chance. Owen sat down hard on a rock. The pieces clicked together. Titan Mining's drones, their lowball offer, the threatening message. They knew about the crystals. Maybe not the full extent, but enough to want Owen gone before he could file a claim. Glacier made a sound that pulled him from his thoughts. The dragon stood at the chamber entrance, her body tense. She was listening to something Owen couldn't hear. Then he caught it too. Footsteps above. Voices. Owen killed his light and pressed himself against the wall. Glacier moved silently to his side. Through the hole in the hangar floor, he could see beams from flashlights sweeping the space. He's not here. A woman's voice. Not Cross, someone new. Equipment's still warm. He's close. Check everything. He must have found the access point. If he's seen the deposit, we have a problem. More footsteps. The sounds of things being moved. Owen's tablet was up there. Bernard's computer with all the files. If they found those, they would know exactly what Owen knew. Boss wants this wrapped up fast, the woman continued. Riley signs the property over, or we make him sign it over. Either way, Titan Mining owns this hangar by morning. What about the dragon? A pause. Accidents happen out here. The weather. The wildlife. People disappear all the time on Whitestone Ridge. Owen felt Glacier tense beside him. He put a hand on her neck, trying to keep her calm. They were outnumbered and trapped. Going up now would be suicide. Then Glacier did something unexpected. She moved to the chamber wall and pressed her snout against a specific crystal formation. The crystal pulsed brighter. Then another lit up, and another. Within seconds, the entire chamber blazed with light. The intruders above shouted in surprise. Owen heard them scrambling. Then an alarm started blaring. The hangar's automated defense system, inactive for 20 years, suddenly roared to life. Lights, sirens, security barriers slamming down. Bernard had programmed the system to respond to the crystal's energy signature. One final gift from a smart old man who planned for everything. The intruders fled. Owen heard their transport launch in a hurry. Silence returned to the hangar, broken only by the hum of the defense system and the gentle pulse of 1 billion credits worth of resonance crystals. Owen looked at Glacier. The dragon looked back with those knowing blue eyes. She had saved them both. Owen spent the night documenting everything. Photos of the crystals, measurements of the chamber, core samples sealed in Bernard's old containers. He uploaded copies to 3 different secure servers, then encrypted everything twice. If Titan Mining came back, he would have proof of what he found. By dawn, he had a basic claim filed with the Colonial Resource Authority. It wouldn't hold up in court without proper extraction and processing, but it was a start. The real problem was time. Titan Mining had lawyers, money, and corrupt officials in their pocket. Owen had a ruined hangar and a dragon. His tablet buzzed. Incoming call from a number he hadn't seen in 5 years. Rachel Kimo. They had flown cargo runs together before Owen's company folded. She was smart, tough, and knew the mining business better than anyone. Tell me you're not really on Whitestone Ridge fighting Titan Mining over a piece of junk property. Rachel said the moment he answered. Word travels fast. You idiot. Do you have any idea what you're up against? Titan Mining doesn't lose. They have lawyers who eat people like you for breakfast. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Rachel's voice softened. Owen, I heard about Bernard. I'm sorry, but whatever he left you, it's not worth your life. Sell the property and walk away. Owen hesitated. Rachel was one of the few people he trusted completely. He made a decision. Can you get here? I need your help. I'll explain when you arrive, but Rachel, this is real. This is big. Silence on the line. Then how big? Big enough that Titan Mining sent people to threaten me. Big enough that they're willing to kill to keep it quiet. Another pause. I'll be there in 6 hours. Don't do anything stupid until I arrive. The call ended. Owen felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. Rachel would know what to do. She had connections, resources, a reputation that even corporations respected. Glacier nudged his shoulder. The dragon had barely left his side since the intruders came. She was protective in a way that reminded Owen of the guard dogs his family kept when he was young. Fierce and loyal once you earned their trust. Think we can hold out for 6 hours? Owen asked her. Glacier's answer was a low rumble that might have been a laugh. They didn't have to wait that long. 3 hours later, the proximity alarm shrieked. Owen checked the cameras and cursed. Not just one transport this time. 5. And these weren't corporate security. These were orbital enforcement vessels. Official colonial authority ships. Owen ran outside as they landed. Glacier followed, staying close. The ships disgorged a dozen armed guards and one severe-looking woman in a magistrate's uniform. She carried a data pad and looked annoyed to be standing in the snow. Owen Riley, she called out. That's me, Magistrate and Foster. I'm here to enforce an emergency injunction filed by Titan Mining Consortium. Your extraction activities are creating dangerous instability in this region. I'm shutting you down until a full safety review can be conducted. Extraction activities? I've been here 4 days. I haven't extracted anything. Foster looked at her pad. Titan Mining has seismic data showing significant underground disruption originating from this location. They claim you're using unauthorized equipment that poses a risk to the entire colony. That's garbage and you know it. What I know is irrelevant. I enforce the law. You have 12 hours to cease all operations and vacate the premises. Refusal will result in arrest and property seizure. Owen's mind raced. 12 hours wasn't enough time to file proper appeals or gather evidence. It was barely enough time to pack. Titan Mining had outmaneuvered him completely. I want to show you something, Owen said. Give me 10 minutes. If you still think I should shut down after that, I'll go quietly. Foster studied him. 5 minutes. And your dragon stays outside. She goes where I go. Then she stays calm. My guards have weapons rated for large fauna. I'd hate to use them. Owen led Foster into the hangar and down through the access hole into the caves. Glacier followed despite the magistrate's protests. The dragon's presence made the guards nervous, but Glacier ignored them completely. The crystal chamber blazed with light as they entered. Foster stopped dead. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She walked to the nearest wall and touched a crystal formation with trembling fingers. Resonance crystals, Owen said quietly. Natural formation, maybe the largest ever found. My uncle spent 15 years mapping this deposit. He died before he could file a proper claim. Titan Mining wants to steal it. Foster pulled out a scanner and ran her own analysis. Her face went pale as the results came back. She turned to Owen. Do you understand what you have here? Enough to know it's worth killing for. It's worth destroying colonies for. Foster's voice was barely a whisper. She looked at her guards. Everyone out. Now. This site is under colonial protection until further notice. The guards hesitated. Ma'am, our orders are superseded by my authority as magistrate. This is a major resource discovery. Protocol requires immediate protection and investigation. Move. They left. Foster waited until they were alone except for Glacier before speaking again. Titan Mining's injunction was filed using forged seismic data. I can see that now. They're trying to steal this deposit before you can legitimize your claim. Can you stop them? I can slow them down. Buy you time. But Owen, you need to start proper extraction and processing immediately. Under colonial law, you need to prove active utilization of the resource within 72 hours of filing your claim. Otherwise, Titan can challenge it in corporate court. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the expertise. Then get them. You have friends. Call them. This deposit could make Whitestone Ridge independent. No more corporate monopolies. No more exploitation. But only if you can hold on to it long enough to make it legal. Owen's tablet buzzed. Rachel. She was landing early. Foster saw his expression. Go. I'll keep my people here to document the site. That'll give you some legal protection. But hurry. Titan Mining's regional director is arriving tomorrow with a full legal team. After that, all bets are off. Owen climbed back up with Glacier at his heels. Rachel's ship was touching down outside. Through the hangar windows, he could see more transports on the horizon. Titan Mining wasn't giving up. The real fight was just beginning. Rachel took one look at the crystal chamber and started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind that came when the universe threw something so absurd at you that crying seemed pointless. You found the biggest resonance deposit in known space, she said when she could breathe again. On a worthless ice ball that nobody wanted. Of course you did. Can you help me extract it? Rachel pulled out her own scanner and started running calculations. Not in 72 hours. Not properly. We'd need industrial equipment, processing facilities, environmental controls. This would take months to set up right. Owen felt hope draining away. So Titan Mining wins. I didn't say that. Rachel grinned. I said we can't do it properly. But proper is for people who have time. We're going to do it fast and dirty. She spent the next hour on her tablet, making calls and sending messages. Owen recognized some of the names. Independent miners. Salvage crews. People who lived on the edges of the corporate system and didn't ask too many questions. Here's the plan, Rachel said. We don't try to extract tons of crystal. We just need enough to prove active utilization. 10 kilos of processed material. That's the legal minimum. You can process resonance crystals. I know people who can. They'll be here in 8 hours with portable equipment. It won't be pretty, but it'll be legal. She paused. This is going to cost you, Owen. These people don't work for free. How much? 10% of future profits. Each. Owen did the math. By the time everyone got their cut, he'd own maybe 30% of his own discovery. But 30% of billions was still more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. Deal. The next hours were chaos. Ships arrived carrying equipment and people. Rachel's contacts were rough around the edges, but they knew their work. They set up a processing station in the hangar using gear that looked like it had been salvaged from 6 different sources. Probably had been. Glacier watched everything with intense interest. She had taken to Rachel immediately, which Owen found amusing. The dragon seemed to have strong opinions about people. She liked Magistrate Foster too, who stayed to document the operation. But when Titan Mining ships appeared on the horizon, Glacier's mood turned dark. Daniel Cross arrived with a woman Owen didn't recognize. She was older, perfectly dressed despite the cold, and carried herself like someone who expected the universe to bend to her will. Corporate royalty. Victoria is Rachel Materth, regional director for Titan Mining. This just got serious. Hayes walked straight to the hangar doors with Cross behind her. A dozen corporate lawyers followed. Glacier positioned herself in front of the entrance, blocking their path. Hayes didn't even blink. Mr. Riley, she called out. We need to talk. This situation has escalated beyond local jurisdiction. I'm invoking interstellar commerce regulations. Your operation is now subject to corporate arbitration. Foster stepped forward. This is a colonial matter, Director Hayes. My authority is limited to local disputes. This involves interstellar trade in strategic materials. The Commerce Council has jurisdiction. Foster's face went red. You can't just, I can and I am. I have documentation signed by 3 council members. Mr. Riley's extraction activities must cease immediately pending arbitration. Any materials extracted are to be held in escrow. Owen felt the trap closing. Corporate arbitration meant corporate judges and corporate courts where Titan Mining had unlimited resources and he had none. He would lose before the case even started. Rachel grabbed his arm. We need to stall. The processing run will be done in 2 hours. If we can hold them off, how? They have legal authority. Not quite. Foster pulled out her own tablet. Director Hayes, your documentation is incomplete. You need approval from all 5 Commerce Council members for emergency arbitration. You only have 3. Hayes' perfect composure cracked slightly. The other members will approve by tonight, but they haven't approved yet, which means Mr. Riley's operation is legal for now. Magistrate Foster, I strongly advise you not to obstruct this process. Titan Mining has significant influence in this sector. Your career is not your concern. Foster's voice went cold. I'm enforcing colonial law. You're welcome to file complaints with my superiors. Until then, Mr. Riley's operation continues. Hayes stared at Foster for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Very well. We'll wait. But when approval comes through, and it will, Mr. Riley loses everything. His claim, his discovery, possibly his freedom if we decide to press charges for resource theft. She turned and walked back to her transport. Cross lingered. You can't win this, he said to Owen. Hayes will bury you in legal proceedings for the next decade. Even if you win, you'll be broke from lawyer fees. Maybe, Owen said, but at least I'll know I tried. Cross shook his head and left. The corporate ships didn't leave, though. They landed in a circle around the hangar. Waiting, watching. Inside, the processing equipment hummed. Rachel monitored the readings while her crew worked. Glacier stayed by Owen's side. The dragon seemed to sense his stress. 2 hours, Rachel said. We can hold for 2 hours, right? Owen looked at the corporate ships outside. He looked at Foster's worried face. He looked at the processing equipment that represented his last chance at keeping the discovery that should have been his uncle's legacy. His tablet buzzed. Message from an unknown source. Just a link to a live news feed. Someone was broadcasting what was happening. The crystal discovery. The corporate pressure. All of it streaming live to anyone who wanted to watch. More ships appeared on the horizon. Not corporate, not official. Independent vessels. Miners. Prospectors. Colonists. People who had lived under corporate control their whole lives and were tired of it. They landed near the hangar. Dozens of them. Then dozens more. Within an hour, a small crowd had formed. Not hostile, just watching. Bearing witness. Hayes couldn't use force now. Not with witnesses streaming everything live. She was trapped by the same publicity she had tried to avoid. Rachel checked her equipment. Processing complete. We have 12 kilos of pure resonance crystal. Certified and documented. Foster immediately filed the updated claim with the Colonial Resource Authority. It's official. You have an active extraction operation with proven output. Your claim is legitimate. Owen waited for the relief to come. It didn't, because Hayes was walking back to the hangar, and her smile said this wasn't over. Hayes stood in the center of the hangar with news drones circling overhead. She had adapted fast. If she couldn't hide the story, she would control it. I want to make a statement, Hayes announced. Her voice carried across the crowd. Professional, reasonable, dangerous. Titan Mining Consortium recognizes Mr. Riley's claim to this deposit. We're not here to steal from independent prospectors. We're here to ensure proper development of this resource. Owen started to relax. Then he saw Foster's expression. The magistrate knew corporate speak better than anyone. However, Hayes continued, Mr. Riley lacks the capital and expertise to extract this deposit safely and efficiently. We're prepared to offer a partnership. Titan Mining provides equipment, processing facilities, and distribution networks. Mr. Riley retains 30% ownership. The crowd murmured. 30% sounded generous. It wasn't. Owen would be a junior partner in his own discovery, with no real control. Titan Mining would run the operation, and Owen would get whatever scraps they decided to give him. Not interested, Owen said. Hayes raised an eyebrow. Mr. Riley, be practical. You can't extract billions of tons of crystal with portable equipment. You need industrial infrastructure. That requires hundreds of millions in investment. Where will you get that capital? I'll find a way. You'll fail. And when you do, when you're drowning in debt and legal fees, Titan Mining will still be here. But our offer won't be as generous next time. Rachel stepped forward. What if he doesn't need your money? Excuse me, the deposit belongs to Owen. But Owen's smart enough to know he can't develop it alone. So instead of partnering with one corporation, what if he partnered with everyone? Rachel pulled up a document on her tablet and projected it for the crowd. A cooperative arrangement. Independent miners get access to the deposit in exchange for percentage shares. Equipment and expertise shared equally. Profits distributed based on contribution. No single entity controls everything. The independent miners in the crowd started talking excitedly. This was the kind of arrangement they dreamed about. Equal partnership instead of corporate employment. Hayes' professional mask slipped. That's absurd. You can't run a major extraction operation as a cooperative. The logistics alone are complicated but manageable, Foster interrupted. Colonial law explicitly allows cooperative resource development. Mr. Riley would maintain majority ownership while spreading the operational burden across multiple parties. It would never work. Why? Owen asked. Because it doesn't benefit Titan Mining? Because it gives regular people a chance to profit instead of making your shareholders richer? Hayes' eyes went cold. You're making a mistake. Titan Mining has contracts with every major communications provider in this sector. We control the market for resonance crystals. Your cooperative will produce material no one will buy. I'll buy it. A new voice cut through the tension. An older man pushed through the crowd. He wore a simple coat, but carried himself with authority. Captain Henry Liu, independent hauler. I have contracts with buyers in 3 systems who would love an alternative to Titan Mining's monopoly prices. Another person spoke up. I can provide processing equipment. Better rates than corporate. I've got distribution networks in the outer colonies. My crew can handle security. One by one, independent operators pledged support. Not out of charity. They saw the opportunity. A chance to break corporate control over a vital resource. A chance to prove that people could work together without corporate masters. Hayes watched her control of the situation evaporate. She turned to Owen one last time. You'll regret this. Titan Mining doesn't forget. Neither do dragons. Owen said. Glacier moved beside him, her blue eyes fixed on Hayes. The message was clear. Hayes left with her lawyers and security team. Cross lingered for a moment. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I hope you make it work. Then he was gone too. The crowd celebrated. Rachel was already organizing people into work groups. Foster filed paperwork, making the cooperative arrangement official. Captain Liu discussed distribution logistics with anyone who would listen. Owen found a quiet corner and just breathed. Glacier settled beside him, her warmth cutting through the cold. He scratched behind her ear ridge, and she made that almost purring sound. We did it, he whispered. Bernard would have been proud. The dragon rumbled agreement. The next 6 months were brutal. Owen learned more about mining, processing, logistics, and cooperative management than he ever wanted to know. The work was hard. The weather was terrible. Equipment broke constantly. Arguments erupted over profit distribution and work assignments. But it worked. The cooperative extracted and processed resonance crystals more efficiently than anyone predicted. The quality was exceptional. Independent buyers competed for their product, breaking Titan Mining's price monopoly across the sector. Whitestone Ridge transformed from a dying colony into a thriving hub. Owen stood outside the hangar watching new facilities go up around the original building. They had kept Bernard's old hangar as cooperative headquarters. It felt right. A reminder of where they started. Glacier landed beside him, back from a survey flight. She had discovered 3 more crystal deposits using her natural sensing abilities. Dragons were in demand now across the frontier as prospecting partners. Glacier's success had changed how people saw her species, not as pets or burdens, but as equals with unique, valuable skills. Ready for another survey? Owen asked. Glacier bumped his shoulder affectionately and headed for the tunnel entrance. They had a system now. She found the deposits. He figured out how to extract them. Together, they were building something bigger than just profit. They were building proof that different species could work together as partners, that humans and dragons, corporations and independents could find better ways forward than domination and control. Owen followed Glacier into the tunnels, past crystals that glowed like captured starlight. His uncle's worthless hangar had become the foundation of something remarkable, not because of what was underneath it, but because of what people chose to build together. The hangar's lights blazed against the snow, a beacon visible for hundreds of kilometers, drawing people who wanted to prove that cooperation could triumph over corporate power, that the future belonged to those brave enough to try something different. Owen and Glacier disappeared into the crystal depths, ready to discover what other fortunes lay hidden beneath the ice.